Are you ready to branch out, to take a leap of faith, to love yourself and others fully? Then let go of whatever no longer serves you to take action now on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. With Erica's E3 approach, equipping, empowering, and enlightening yourself so you can be yourself for yourself. Get ready and get rooted to live a life without regrets, without what ifs, without should haves, and especially without empty feelings from a life unexplored. This hit show helps you build powerful and intentional roots to live it up, love it up, and let it go. Get fearlessly ready and powerfully rooted in your yes with your host, Erica Gifford Mills, and be fearless about your more and stand in your yes. Now on Get Rooted Radio.
Welcome, everyone. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. A big shout out to my producer today, Jessica. Jessica, how are you doing?
Yay. You know, I feel like it was like a little bit of a universal excitedness for me to be on the show today to talk about self-love.
Oh, and I'm so glad you're on too, because I know we've talked many times about this and you are right up that alley. So I'm going to ask you, what does self-love mean to you?
Okay, and I promise I don't think I'm pulling this from your description, but for me it has been a journey. It's truly been a journey, and it's a day-to-day process and evolving thing, and it's not a destination. And I think I swear I think that is like in the description of your show, and I don't mean to pull from that, but it's just how I feel. So that's why I feel like it's so awesome that I'm running the show today.
I love it, because listeners will be in for a treat, as today's episode, as Jessica said, is self-love, a journey, not a destination. And my guest, Dr. Donna Lindsay, and I will lead listeners to improve and enhance their overall performance in every area of their lives by embarking upon a transformative journey of learning how to love themselves unconditionally and, most importantly, unapologetically. But I want to tell you a little bit about my guest, my colleague, and my friend before we start. Dr. Donna Lindsay is a certified professional coach, author, speaker, educator, and founder and CEO of Donna Lindsay Coaching and Consulting, LLC. She is nationally and internationally known as a self-love strategist. For the last 15 years, she has instrumentally engaged individuals, groups, and organizations in empowerment sessions using principles of love to enhance their overall performance in truly all areas of their lives. Dr. Lindsay specializes in self-love activation. Her strategic approach to individual empowerment, group coaching, and organizational restoration has positioned her to become pursued as a coach, consultant, and speaker. As a thought leader around self-love, Dr. Donna Lindsay believes that a person's ability to love themselves without condition impacts how they relate to others, and I couldn't agree with her more. Her work as a self-love strategist has birthed out of her many inspirational and undesirable life experiences. Dr. Lindsay facilitates a quarterly online masterclass titled Love Me First, assisting participants in identifying barriers to their self-love journey, releasing toxic people, thoughts, and situations, as well as learning how to love themselves unconditionally. 4 years ago, she created a social media platform, Love My Way Collective, and we'll give you that Facebook group later on in the show, that attracts women nationwide, engaging them in discussions, polls, and activities designed to improve their self-love journey. She is the author of Self-Love, A Journey, Not a Destination, and you will hear how to get that book because it is wonderful. She is also the author of the chapters The Power of Influence in the Professional Woman, Leadership, Courage, and Confidence, and Take the Mask Off, Be Authentic You in the book Yes, You Can, Believe in Yourself. She currently resides in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which I wish I was there right now, with her loving and supportive husband, Antonio, is a mother to 2 beautiful children, and a grandma to Nyla. Thank you for joining us today, Donna. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Erica. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
So one of the things I mentioned in the introduction in your bio is that you are known as a self-love strategist. Can you explain to listeners what a self-love strategist is?
Well, and that's a great question. And a lot of people ask that question. I am one that thinks in strategy, right? Strategies of war. I don't believe that we can just get up and just willy-nilly through life. There has to be a strategy. There has to be a way or a mode by which we approach situations and circumstances. And most importantly, self-love. So ultimately, as the self-love strategist, that's what I do. I teach individuals the strategies that they can begin to employ to improve and enhance their self-love journey, reminding them, of course, that it is a journey and not a destination. There is no end to it. It's always evolving, it's always growing, it's always manifesting. And as you move from one level to the next level, there's always going to be a new set of strategies that you're going to have the opportunity to employ.
Yes, and I think that is so true. It's not a one and done thing. And we're going to talk all about that. So I don't want to get into it too much, but how important is it that we truly know that it's a journey, right? It's important to take the journey of self-love. Why is that so important?
I believe that taking the journey of self-love is not just about us learning how to love ourselves authentically, but I believe that it impacts every other relationship that we're engaged in. Those that are married, those that are dating, those at work and they have colleagues or they have an employer, they worship, at their, temples or at their churches. We live amongst human beings. And so I really believe that first and foremost, we need to utilize the skills and strategies of self-love to improve our relationships with ourselves, right? And then, of course, thereby improving relationships with other individuals. How many have such a hard time sitting in a quiet space with themselves, right? Something has to be going on, the TV, music, something, because to sit still and just enjoy the company of yourself for some can be a little challenging. So that's ultimately why we do this work, to help us improve relationship with self and thereby improve relationship with people on the exterior.
Yes, and I love the concept that it truly is a journey, right? And you don't want to just focus on the end goal of that destination, right? You need to feel all those feelings that might come of it, which leads me to my next question. It's not always easy, right?
No.
You have your ups and downs, you have the bumps in the road. And truly, sometimes when you find out things about yourself, that you have those harsh realities. And I think some people stop then. So can you talk about the intense part of the journey when you're going on this?
And that's so good because that's actually chapter 1 in the book. It's all about acknowledging you and coming to terms with who you are. I hear this comment a lot. And whenever I hear it, it makes me kind of pause, right? I'm a good person. What does that mean? How do you define that? How do you classify that? Like, how do you put that into, a space? We all are human beings. We all are a work in progress. And so the first chapter in the book talks about acknowledging who you are, getting acquainted with who you are. Oftentimes we just want to identify with those positive parts of us, right? We're kind. We love to give to the community. We spend time, with the elderly. But what about those not so good parts? Like the parts that, maybe your spouse is talking about, or other people on the job are talking about, or maybe in church, you're not the nice usher, you're not the nice greeter. They don't want to enter the church and talk to you because you're mean. You just dictate where people should sit. Or you're hearing maybe that you have an attitude issue that needs to be worked upon. So self-love, the first step in it is acknowledging who you are. And sometimes we don't want to hear that. We don't want to be our first critic. Oftentimes we hear criticism from the outside, but rather than hearing it from the outside, let's just spend some time with ourselves and really explore not just the positive sides, but what are some of those areas that we really need to work on? Maybe we're not a good or effective communicator. So that's something that we would definitely need to work on. So I would say the first step is acknowledging you, being truthful with yourself and really acknowledging who you are and what you're bringing to the table.
And that's a good point. The truthful with yourself. I think that's the hardest part is many times people can be truthful with others about maybe their strengths or their weaknesses. But when it comes to ourselves, and I'll make that an I statement so that it's not anybody else, but that is hard, right? When you're like, ooh, and that's a lot of times too, when you look at somebody else or because we all do it, even though we try not to, is judging somebody else.
Right.
A lot of times those little annoyances or things that we don't like about somebody else is probably because it's a reflection of us and what maybe we do that we don't like about ourselves. Exactly. And I think that, it's hard to be authentic and honest with ourselves. And that's one reason I love when employers ask, great, tell me your strengths. All right, now tell me your weaknesses, because it is part of that self-love journey to acknowledge and go forward with that. Well, I want to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about self-love versus self-care. But before we go, there's two things I want you to tell folks about. I mentioned it in the intro, but you have this Love Me First Masterclass. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that and when the next one's coming up, and then tell folks how they can reach you.
Awesome. So the next Love Me First Masterclass is going to be in February. It's a 3-week course. It's virtual, so anyone from all over the world can stream in. The class takes place February 11th, February 18th, and the 25th. Yep, there you go. See my young brain. So February 11th, February 18th, and the 25th. So it is a 3-week class. It is virtual. It is $59. Right now I'm running a special just for this podcast, $59. Whoop, 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 whoop. So anyone that goes over to donnalindsay.com/events, you'll be able to sign up for the class.
Wonderful. And then how can folks reach you, social media or website, just to learn more about you and check out?
Awesome. So website is donnalindsay.com. Just that simple. And then Facebook is at Donna Lindsay. And then Instagram is _Donna_Lindsay. And then LinkedIn, you can just search for Donna Lindsay, and I'm the first one to pop up.
Wonderful. You are listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any portion of today's episode, you can catch it on getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com. Don't forget to subscribe online to receive the latest news, events, specials, and words of encouragement. Go to getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Dr. Donna Lindsay. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So in this segment, we are talking about self-love versus self-care. So this can often be confusing for some, or they mix up a little of the self-care versus self-love. Sometimes they can be similar, sometimes they can be intertwined. So how do self-love and self-care differ?
And it's interesting. I'm always talking about this because I think with new generations come new ideas and new concepts. So ultimately, for me, the self-care piece has to do with the bubble bath, the getting the hair done, the nails done, the working out, and possibly eating a salad instead of having a burger for lunch. So all of these are different things that we could do for self-care. When it comes to spirituality, maybe meditating, doing some yoga, to essentially get yourself in position. And I would say that self-love is deeper than that. Self-love is going into the deeper recesses of your heart, going into the deeper recesses of your being and really analyzing who you are. Oftentimes when speaking to people, I often share that, self-care is great and keep it going. Keep those habits and keep those behaviors going. Take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. But be mindful of the fact that sometimes when doing self-care, they are band-aids to what's really going on in your internal being. Okay. I've met with so many women who, they just come out of getting their hair done, their nails done, they're getting ready to go home and, lay in the tub and have a bubble bath and drink a glass of wine, but they come out of that tub with that fresh dew and those nails, and they're still feeling defeated. they're still feeling depressed. They're still feeling dishonored. They're still feeling oppressed. And it's like, what's going on here? You know, you've done all of these things, but they're all exterior. And so I think that's essentially what I would say the differences between the two. Self-care is more for the exterior, more for the outer parts, which you see on the outside and what other people see on the outside. But self-love, which is why it's a journey and not a destination, it causes you to dig deep. And if you think about a journey, when you're on a road trip, you know, you're seeing all kinds of things. There's potholes, you know, there's smooth ground, but then there's potholes, there's boulders, there's animals, you know, that run across the road, there are trees, you know, here in Florida, there's sand, you know, there's all kinds of things that you can, you know, see and discover as you're going through this self-love journey that I don't think self-care is going to offer.
Yeah, and that's really a really important designation. Not destination, but designation. Yeah. And because surface, you know, and sometimes you do have to just get up, get dressed to keep moving on some days, right? We all have those moments that let me just get up, let me put something nice on, let me do my hair, let me do my makeup. And that will get me at least partway there, right? That will get me to the point where, all right, I'm feeling good. I feel like I can accomplish something. Now I need to do the real work. Right. It's like when you just tape something. I just need to tape this until I can actually get it fixed. Right. But if you just sit there and let it be taped, it's going to break again. Right. And that's like us, right? It's really important to do that. But in what ways can someone show love for themselves?
And that's really good. The first is being truthful, right? Being truthful with self. That's the first way that you can really begin to embrace this self-love. That's the first step, is being honest with yourself and really taking a look at within. Look at how your past failures, your current failures, your mistakes, your traumas, your hurts, your pains, all of these things that have come along your pathway have truly impacted you. Have they made you nervous? Have they made you, you know, fearful? Have they made you anxious? You know, have they made you bossy and mean? You know, really take a look at who you are. So that's number one, being truthful. The second thing would be essentially ensuring that you are accepting who you are in its totality, right? You know now that you've been truthful with yourself, you've identified some things that are just not so good. And so now you have to really embrace who you are. And I think a lot of times that's one of the hardest things for people to do, is to walk in acceptance. If you know, this person that you're interacting with, whether it's in a marriage or, you know, a colleague at work, if they never change, can you still walk out this journey with them? Now let's turn that towards us. If we never change, you know, can you find a place of satisfaction? Can you find a place of peace and a place of happiness? So I would say definitely starting with the truth and acknowledging who you are, then moving to a place of acceptance. From there, it would definitely be moving to a place of approval. You don't need anyone on the exterior to approve of you. That approval has to come from within. It's intrinsic. Right? And so once we move through these different phases, we get to a place of approval. Now we're moving to a place of appreciation. And there are a wealth of ways that we can demonstrate appreciation. And I think this is where self-care comes in, right? This is where, you know, the hair and the nails and, you know, the exercise, we're appreciating ourselves. And then moving finally to a place of affirmation, where we're waking up every single day and affirming ourselves that, yes, I'm a hot mess, I'm a work in progress, but I still love me, and I'm going to continue, as you said, to get up and keep moving forward until change comes.
Absolutely. And I think that validation portion, right? That seeking the approval from the outside, we do it so often. And, you know, even us coaches, right? We do it too. It's human nature. It's human nature to want to be accepted. It's human nature to want to be part of the crowd. But at the same time, being authentic to yourself, understanding that maybe you're not with that right group of people. Right. That doesn't mean that you don't have to do work yourself, right? Sometimes the problem's you.
Yeah.
but seeking validation or getting that approval, or if I do this, this person will love me. you're actually showing them how to love you by the way you treat yourself, by how you respect yourself and how you love yourself. And if we always seek that outside validation, we're never going to get to that destination on our journey.
Right. It's absolutely true. And, you know, it's in everything now. When you even think about social media, right? I didn't get any hearts. I put out this great quote, or I put out this great video, or I'm on TikTok and nobody liked it. You know, my friend puts out foolishness and they get 2,000 views, and I'm putting out stuff that, you know, may make sense, and I'm not getting it. It doesn't matter. You just have to continue to do what you do, bring your portion to the table, and approve of yourself with the understanding that you are still reaching. If you're not reaching anyone, you're reaching yourself. Right.
Well, and I love that, because sometimes the things I do and I post in social media and I talk about are because I need the reminder.
Right.
I need to be reminded of it. And you might not be getting likes or different things, but people are seeing it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with getting messages out. Sometimes it takes folks 5 times, sometimes it takes them 100 times to see a message and hear a message to be able to have it resonate. And I think self-love is the same way. It's not a band-aid. We talk about it. It's not a one and done. It's an every day, every week for the rest of your life, because you grow, you change. And as you give yourself self-love, then what happens is you find that I'm growing, I'm becoming a different person in a very positive way. And now I need to love myself differently. And I have to love myself maybe even better. I have to love myself more. And that's an ongoing process.
It is. And literally today, I'm going to have a transparent moment here if we have a minute.
Yes.
I was leaving one place, moving to another, and I literally parked my car in a park. And I had to have a moment with myself, the self-love strategist. I had to have a moment with myself. And essentially what I came to the realization was self-love is about releasing control, because in that moment, right, my thoughts were going all over the place. And rather than reaching out and asking for help, I was trying to control all of these situations, and this feeling of being overwhelmed came upon me. And I was like, wait, stop. You're not loving yourself right now. If you need help, a part of that is surrendering and releasing and relinquishing control and allowing someone to step in and help you. Right. And oftentimes, and then that's something else to discover and explore. Why are you being controlling in this particular situation? There's fear, right? Because control is rooted in fear. So what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that the task isn't going to get done? It's not going to get done the way you want it to get done. So this was just a moment I had today in preparation for, this podcast that, I had to walk myself through, hence the journey, not a destination.
And I love that you said that, because we were talking during break. I just got back from vacation. And one reason I take the sort of vacations I do is because I need to learn to give myself grace when I'm not good at something, when I don't have control, when I don't know what I'm doing, when it's a total new activity. And so some of the vacations that I take are purposely to put me in that situation where I'm here. I can't back out. I'm already here. I got to do it. And it's giving me the patience. It's giving me the skills. It's giving me time to be loving to myself when I am doubtful, when I'm afraid, when I don't know what's going to happen, and when I don't have control. So I love that example. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about the book, Self-Love, A Journey, Not a Destination. But before we go, tell folks how they can reach you. And you also have a little giveaway, speaking of the book.
Yes, I definitely have a giveaway. So to the first person that reaches out, and you can reach out via email for that one. So it's donna@donnalindsay.com. Quite simple. Everything is attached to my name. So donna@donnalindsay.com, the first person to actually email me and just give me a takeaway that they received from today's podcast would be the person that would receive the book. And for those that want to reach me for anything else, for coaching, for speaking, for classes, master classes, I can be reached at donnalindsay.com /contact.
Wonderful. I'm Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Don't forget to visit getrootedradio.com to listen to a replay of this episode, sign up for helpful tips, and learn about upcoming events. That's getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Dr. Donna Lindsay. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Erica. Good to be here.
So during the last segment, we talked about self-love versus self-care. Now we want to get into the journey. And self-love, a journey, not a destination, is the name of your new book right here.
Yes.
And this was great. So folks, I'm not just saying this. Yes, Donna's my friend. We've been on stages together for speaking, but this is wonderful. This is a wonderful book. You definitely want to check it out. But in your book, you address the self and self-love and how to effectively identify who you really are. So how would an individual's failure to truly identify who they are become a hindrance to loving themselves unconditionally?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's definitely going to first and foremost impact relationship with self, because it's going to be like walking around with a mask on. You know, one of my famous statements down here in Florida is it's like walking around with, continuously putting lipstick on a pig. You're not dealing with who you are. And then the repercussions of that, how it impacts relationships. So, you could be in and out of relationships, in and out of jobs, and you find yourself blaming everyone else, blaming the boyfriend, blaming, your second husband, then your third husband, blaming whomever. And really and truly, it's about you. So this book really charges each of us, myself included, to dig deep, to go within and really take a look at those things that have caused you to become who you are, and really discover, what that is, and then put strategies in place and do some, practices that will essentially help alleviate some of that and help you move to the next level.
And that is so important, because sometimes I believe people don't want to see the negative about themselves, which, I mean, nobody does, right? We don't like to look at our flaws, let's say, right. But we are all perfectly imperfect. I mean, we are not, and you said it earlier, we are a work in progress, and that's beautiful. And we need to be originals, not a copy. Right. And that starts with being authentic with yourself and with others, but starting with yourself, because if you aren't authentic with yourself, you're not going to be with somebody else.
Right.
And that's so important. So
and that's so good. And I know a story, just to share, of a gentleman that was married to a woman for 45 years, and he thought he knew her. And at her passing, there was a letter that was being passed around that she wrote from the time of her birth until, just moments before her passing. And the spouse didn't realize, all of the trauma that this individual had gone through. And this was why they were the way they were. This is why their demeanor was always so cold and hard. And, just they were unapproachable at times. But yet and still warm and giving and kind, but there were times that it was just unbearable, and the relationship was not good. Although they stayed together for 45 years, the relationship was very up and down. Yeah. So.
And I think that leads probably to my next question here is this person was chronicling their life, right? They were writing down the different things that has happened to them. So how can someone chronicle the moments embedded in this journey, right? This journey of self-love. And why is it important?
I think journaling is one of the greatest creations ever. Getting a blank notebook and you just pouring out whatever it is. It could be your happiness. It could be your joys. It could be your victories, but also having a place where you can document what you're going through, your hardships, your challenges, your insecurities, your fears. We're getting ready to enter into 2023. And how many people enter into the new year excited, right? Not everybody does. Some people enter in because they don't know what it holds. They don't know what to expect. So documenting that, putting all of that on paper, expressing what your concerns are, expressing what mistakes have essentially held you back from moving forward. What failures have held you back from moving forward, what traumatic situations, individuals, relationships. So I think journaling is one of the best tools that has been given to us. It's blank paper and a pen, and you get the opportunity to be the author of your own book, right? You're documenting your journey on a day-to-day basis.
And I think that I love journaling as well. I mean, that's so important. And I like to do, and some people do food journaling. Some people do, weather. But I think that's all important because what you ate in that day could affect your mood. What the weather is could affect your mood. What, was going on, work, personal, love, relationship status, that sort of thing. Yeah. I also have this tool that we did on the show called Wellness Wheel. It's like a balance wheel is what I usually call it. But I like to do it every few months and then look at my year before and look at the quarter before if you do it quarterly, just because I see, the weather does have an impact on me. I am looking different and feeling differently about myself, about my relationships in different seasons, not just seasons of my life, but literal seasons.
Correct.
And I think that when you can chronicle those moments and journey through it, you can see, maybe I need to change what I'm doing from this point. Maybe I need to get more sunlight. Maybe I need to get more of this, because a lot of that, we're interconnected mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And a lot of that goes along with our journey.
It does. It does. And really and truly what I'm hearing as you're talking is data collection, right? Yes. You're collecting data on yourself. So it's not just about pouring out on the pages. It's going back, which I do, go back and actually take a look at what you wrote a month ago. Yes. Read through some of those things, because sometimes we put it on paper and we leave it there and we forget. And then it serves no purpose. So, we collect data for the purposes of what? Putting strategies in place, putting methodologies in place, putting routines in place, procedures in place that are essentially going to help us. Like, you and I talked about, every so often, you got to take a break. You got to take a vacation and maybe leave, colder areas and go where there's more sunshine. Or even when you're in the colder areas, going out and spending more time at high noon when the sun is a little bit warmer, just to get that sunlight. It helps to improve the mood. But definitely using that journal, not just to write down, but also to go back and survey the land and really take a look at, how have I grown? What do I need to tweak? What do I need to adjust that's essentially going to help enhance my self-love journey?
Yeah, it's not, don't stop at the surface like we talked about earlier. It's just because you wrote it down and you felt better after, maybe getting all those nasty thoughts out of your mind and off your chest, you still need to then, what am I going to do about it? And sometimes I like this word and sometimes I don't. What was triggering me to feel that way? And so that you have a better understanding, and then you can actually address it, because it's one thing to acknowledge it, but then there's another thing to do something about it.
Exactly. Agreed.
So I know we said this earlier, but does the journey of loving yourself ever come to an end?
No, it doesn't come to an end, because once you, and I like to say this often, once you graduate, right, from kindergarten and you go to first grade in self-love, right, there are other tests, there's new curriculum, there are new experiences that evolve and emerge. Things that maybe you had suppressed from your childhood are now coming to the surface. So you have to navigate all of that. And then eventually you'll graduate from that level and you'll go to another level. And so it's just always, you're always in a state of self-discovery. You're always in a state of plowing and driving and navigating through it. It can be a challenging process, but a very, very rewarding process in the end. So that's, if anything, I want to leave with people, because it's like, oh my gosh, this message, it sounds so daunting. But no, it's just like taking a journey. And that's how I got it. I equated it to that road trip. If you've ever taken a road trip across country, from New York to California, or from Seattle, Washington to Florida, there's so much beauty that you see. right? There's so much landscape that you get to experience. You get to experience the people that are traveling with you, or sometimes you're traveling alone. But in addition to that, you see some of the other stuff as well, that may cause some delays and some traffic jams. And that's not, so positive and appealing about the journey.
Well, one of the things that I want listeners, just in case you didn't catch it before the break, is that you were giving away a book to the one of the first email. So why don't you tell them about that information?
Awesome. Awesome. So the first person that emails me their takeaway from today, Donna@DonnaLindsay.com, is going to receive a copy of my self-love book, A Journey, Not a Destination.
I love it. And now tell folks how they can reach you.
Folks can reach me several places. On Facebook, it is @Donna Lindsay. Instagram, it's _Donna_Lindsay. LinkedIn, you can just search Donna Lindsay. I'm going to be the first one to come up. And then, of course, on my website, DonnaLindsay.com /contact, if you'd like to reach out and have a conversation.
And then one more thing I want you to tell listeners about. You have a writer's workshop coming up in January.
Yes, January 21st. January 21st from 9 to 12. And that is also a virtual class. It is a 3-hour workshop for those of you that are aspiring authors. And I know people are saying, well, what does that have to do with self-love? Self-love is also about fulfilling purpose. And how many people have left here and their books went with them? Okay. So that's not what we want to do in 2023. So whatever your message is, whatever story you desire to get out to the multitudes, because believe it or not, all of our lives impact other lives. And people love to hear the story of the overcomer. So January 21st from 9 to 12, it's going to be a virtual class, and you can sign up for that class at DonnaLindsay.com /events.
Wonderful. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will end today's show talking about self-love takeaways. This is Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any of the information during the last segments, go to getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com to listen to the replay. Don't forget to subscribe, sign up for tips and special events and pricing for upcoming coaching sessions at getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Dr. Donna Lindsay. Before we wrap up today's show, tell listeners how they can reach you and find out about your writer's workshop, your Love Me First Masterclass, and other ways that they can get your book if they're not that lucky first emailer.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So the way that you can find me is just by my namesake, DonnaLindsay.com. For the events that I have coming up, the Writer's Workshop, the Love Me First Masterclass, that would be DonnaLindsay.com /events. And then for the book, yep, it's DonnaLindsay.com /books.
Wonderful. So we've been talking about self-love versus self-care, how the self-love is not just a destination. It is truly all about the journey, how it never ends, it never stops. But now I really want to get into some takeaways, because this is such an important topic. And I want listeners, I think they'll have plenty to take away from this episode, but I really want them to have these tips. So what would be 3 things you would like our listeners to take away from the conversation on self-love?
And this is such a powerful question. And this is where the work begins. So the first thing that I would say is you have to make a decision, right? This self-love journey, or this self-love concept, is not just going to fall upon you. You have to make a decision to essentially walk in self-love. It starts right here in your mind. And in order to embark upon this self-love journey, it's so vitally important that we take on a growth mindset. Oftentimes when we don't want to experience change, when we don't want to hear what needs to be corrected or revamped in us, it's because our mindset is fixed. So we definitely want to take on more of a growth mindset. And by having a growth mindset, we'll be able to now acknowledge those things about ourselves that aren't necessarily working in our best interest. We'll be able to embrace the change and be ready for whatever challenges come up as we embark upon this journey. We're going to be looking for new ideas, new ways to, walk out and to essentially express ourselves. And then the second thing that I would say is that it's going to require discipline. Self-love is not something that you can just, as I said, willy-nilly your way through. It's going to require intentionality. You're going to have to wake up each day and be intentional about how you're going to express self-love toward yourself. Self-love is that kindness, that patience, that endurance for yourself. Definitely doing it consistently. Right? So you can't do self-love today and not do self-love tomorrow. And then you do it on Wednesday and then you don't do it again for another month. So it's definitely going to require intentionality. It's going to require consistency, and it's going to require determination, because as you sit with yourself, you're going to begin to bring some things to the surface that some have suppressed, just like I did. Right? So essentially you're going to be doing some excavation. And so as you go through this process of excavating, digging up that ground and preparing for the foundation, you're going to come across some boulders. You're going to come across some dead trees that, just literally laid down in the ground and fermented. And so it's going to require determination. And yes, people are going to complain. Those that interact with you are going to begin to complain, because now you're going to begin to establish boundaries, and you're going to establish certain expectations with how you want people to speak to you and how you want people to interact with you. Your kids are going to try to distract you, right? If you have kids, if you're that mom, they're going to try to pull you away from those moments when you're journaling, or pull you away from that 5 minutes that you're doing some positive self-talk. You're coaching yourself through the evening hours. But you have to remember in that time of discipline that self-love is not selfish. Self-love is not a selfish act. Right? We have to learn how to love ourselves so that we can better love those around us. And then the last thing that I would say is that, definition. I want you to understand what self-love may look like. So sometimes we get stuck, as I said earlier today, on the self-care piece. We're getting our nails done. We're getting our hair done. We're getting those bubble baths regularly. We're drinking that nice glass of wine. And we believe this to be self-love. Right? But we have to understand that self-love is a 3-part function. It's body, soul, and spirit. So the body part, yes, that's the self-care. That's the nails and the hair and the eating right and all of that, the exercising. But then what are we doing for our soul? What are we doing for our mind? What are we doing for our will? What are we doing for our emotions? And then what are we doing for our spirit? How are we demonstrating love to our spirit, our inner man? Are we spending time in meditation? Are we spending time affirming ourselves? Are we spending time in prayer? And really connecting with that inner being that resides within. So those are the 3 takeaways that I would definitely want you all to leave this podcast with. Self-love definitely has to be a decision that you're going to make. This is a journey that you need to be ready to embark upon. It's going to require discipline, and it's going to require you to define what it looks like, body, soul, and spirit. Oftentimes we stop at body, but we don't go deeper into how do I love my mind, my will, and my emotions? And how do I transfer that over to my inner man, my spirit?
And that is so important, because everything is interconnected, right?
Everything.
Mind, body, and spirit. It's all, and if you don't have that balance, you don't have it. And don't get me wrong, you are going to teeter totter sometimes. Sometimes things, that's just life. But if you make that conscious effort, and as you said, be intentional, be persistent, be consistent, and making sure that we are working on it every day. It's not going to be perfect, because we're not perfect. Right. And what works for somebody else may not work for you. So you might have to try different strategies on work, and you're going to push people away, and people are going to get upset with you, because as you start learning self-love and practicing self-love is when that boundary management, and I've done a whole show on boundary management because it's so important. And when you set those boundaries, you're not setting up walls for other people. You're setting yourself up to make sure that you are the best that you can be, and that people know how to respect you, how to love you, how to treat you. And that is so important in every aspect of our lives, personally, professionally, and everything in between.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one more time, tell folks how they can reach you.
They can reach me at donnalindsay.com. That is my website. And then, of course, Facebook is at Donna Lindsay. Instagram is _Donna_Lindsay. And then LinkedIn, you can just search Donna Lindsay, and I'm going to be the first one to pop up. I look forward to hearing from you.
Wonderful. And I look forward to seeing you in August, if not before.
Yes.
And I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you again for being on the show and tuning in to Get Rooted Radio. If you missed any part of today's episode or want to listen again, go to getrootedradio.com for the podcast. And don't forget to tune in the first and third Monday of every month at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. And before I sign off, remember to ask yourself, are you living a rooted life? If the answer is no, then take action to make that answer a yes. One way to take action is to set up your free Empower Hour call with me. No charge, no obligation. Go to getrootedradio.com to find out how I can help you take action. And if you are ready to live, love, and let go, join me for my 12-week signature group coaching series, The Rooted Life. This series will assist you in achieving your goals and moving forward by letting go of the things that no longer serve you, learning to love yourself and others fully, and living life to its fullest. Go to getrootedradio.com to learn more about the 12-week series and get that free Empower Hour. That's getrootedradio.com. Thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day, and I'm looking forward to the next time on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Visit getrootedradio.com if you've missed any part of this hit show, and tune in on transformationtalkradio.com to live fearlessly in your more and powerfully rooted in your unlimited yes. For more information and to work with Erica directly, visit getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com, and get ready to live it up, love it up, and let it go.